Hey guys, welcome back to the Fallout 4 settlement builds. This time we've got a huge endeavor to undertake here. I'm basically going to give a tour of one of my bigger settlements that I've done so far. And if you haven't figured out what it is already, it is the castle. Or better yet, as I like to think of, basically an actual headquarters that's suitable for a group as big as the Minutemen, or at least the Minutemen that have been restored to its former glory. Yeah, it's pretty big, and I'm gonna just forewarn you that this tour is obviously gonna take a while because this place is huge. There's a lot to see and there's a lot to show off. So just bear that in mind. First of all, just to give y'all a few notes, close this gate again. I intentionally tried not to make the settlement real immaculately big. Basically, at least to the point where it could rival a place like the Pridwin or the railroad headquarters in terms of just how it looks aesthetically, because I could add a lot of detail. I could make this place huge. I could make this place gargantuanly big, but I chose not to really go too crazy with it, but to make it seem feasible for a place for the Minutemen, and to make it seem like a legitimate headquarters. And I think someone's coming through the gate. Maybe not. Yep, I guess they are. But yeah, as far as what all is to see here, it's not going to be, I'm sure there's a lot of other builds you may see on YouTube and whatnot of people who went all out on this settlement, but like I said, I tried to make it something to seem more applicable to something on par with a place like the Brotherhood of Steel headquarters and Railroad headquarters. So anyway, enough about that. Obviously, this being the Minutemen headquarters, there are a lot of people here. There's over 60 settlers that I have spawned here. Holy cow. Yeah, a lot. And I've tried my hardest to outfit them with Minutemen uniforms just to make it, just to make it that much more lore friendly, I guess you could say. Not just regular settlers can... Sure, regular settlers can join, but they obviously have to be issued Minutemen uniforms. And as you can see, here is a statue of Paul Revere. I like to think of it as the Minutemen obviously moved this here and set it up. Once they... Because a lot of this... The castle, a lot of it had to be rebuilt after the events of the main Fallout 4 game, in my opinion. And in turn, they obviously scavenged around the Commonwealth and picked up a lot of Minutemen... or a lot of Revolutionary War relics and stuff like that, but at least the first one they got here is the Paul Revere statue, and they set it up in front here. So I like to see that as a great marker to kind of really give the entrance more of a grand appearance, as you can see here. There is the second entrance on the other side, but I'll get to that in a minute. It's not as opulent as this one, and like most other what most players would probably do is they obviously sealed the walls around the entire fortress, and so I've already done that, and then I've added more to it. And I also apologize that a lot of this place can also be glitchy, as you can see there. There's Preston there that's stuck, obviously, as you can see. He always gets stuck there. Usually if you have guards, they're meant to path and kind of stop there on the original edge that was there on the fortress. They kind of path to that point and stop. But if you had stuff that was built there, they'll kind of just glitch into the wall for whatever reason, the floor for whatever reason, and I hate that, but it happens every single time. But can't really do anything about it except try not to set anything up to path people here. But obviously it would not make sense to not have guard outposts there, as you can see. And I put them there and assign people to them, but they sometimes won't path their way there, unfortunately. But what you can do. So here's the main yard of the castle, as you can see. There's a lot to show here, but I guess the first one I'll show you is the radio station for Radio Freedom, as you can see. Since it was one of the first things that was issued here, or was here when the castle got started, it is one of the older buildings, as you can see, because Radio Freedom was one of the first things that was here to help get the Minutemen started. So going inside, we have a typical little office place here with a bunch of gadgets and gizmos and stuff like that may be seen in a typical, I guess, place where you have to transmit radio, as you can see. And there's people here that are constantly having to do that, but they also give information and whatnot to all the other different Minutemen settlements and facilities and whatnot that are around the Commonwealth, where they can obviously communicate by radio, as you can see. So this is kind of the hub for that, and there's obviously a lot going on here. There's a lot of people who are assigned here to do work here, as you can see. There's a generator in the back, as you can see there. One of two. As far as trying to route the power in this place, I unfortunately couldn't do everything seamlessly, but I tried my best, and that's one of two generators. But it would make sense, in my opinion, for the Minutemen to have at least one generator of that magnitude, as you can see there. It kind of goes up to the top there and spreads its wires out to everywhere else around the settlement. And the big, large radio tower that's in the middle, as always, as you can see. Where to begin? Now, obviously, I obviously intentionally put a lot of stuff inside the fortress itself, so it may not seem like there's a lot, but again, I put a lot of stuff on the inside to really utilize the pre-existing structure that was here. I guess I'll start over here first. Obviously, once you unlock a certain point of the Minutemen quest, this gate here will eventually open, and Ronnie here will be around to kind of be the arms person for the fortress. She usually comes in and out of here. And just back here is the workshop. Now, normally this is where you would get, like, oh, I forget. I think this is where you get, like, the different, like, mines and stuff you could use to unlock the castle and fight against the Mirelurks and stuff like that. If I'm not mistaken, I can't really remember. But I obviously outfitted it to be both a storage room, workshop area. There's a lot of stuff here, as you can see. Why is my... Now, normally I would have a power armor here, but I guess I moved it somewhere else. But normally there would be one there with Minutemen insignias and stuff like that. Also, normally, this is where Sturgis would usually hang out. I have him assigned to this workstation here. This is not a workstation in the base game, but it is one that comes with a mod, and I have him assigned to this one. But he's probably out hanging out somewhere around, for all I know. People don't usually stay where I assign them, but of course they wouldn't. So again, the workshop area. Continuing out, there is a mod that allows you to build in the basement of the castle, but I had a lot of problems with it, and so I thought about utilizing it, but I encountered more problems than I was willing to handle, so I just decided not to use it. Over here, I added a small little structure. I say small, it's like a fifth of the courtyard, but I wanted to utilize stuff that made sense for a something you would see on a military base. So on the first floor here, I have a barbershop, because why not, obviously. There's obviously a couple of people assigned here to keep people's haircuts in check. Nothing too crazy. Nothing along the lines of something like Brotherhood of Steel, but I think it would make sense to have a barbershop here. I figured if it's going to be the headquarters of a force as big as the Minutemen, obviously there would be some sort of creature comforts that would come with at least being a member of the Minutemen. Obviously, all members of the Minutemen do not live here. There's obviously a lot who are stationed here, but there's many that are stationed to other areas around the Commonwealth. So, just keep that in mind, but I'm sure that would make sense, wouldn't it? And up here is the gym, which I obviously got with a few other mods and doodads to put the bench presses and stuff, the pommel horse and whatnot, and the power cycles that come with the Vault 88 add-on. And those are little animation mats. I'm not going to try to open up the workshop here because I'm probably going to end up getting a glitch, but you can get these animation mats that come with a mod that if you assign people to them, they'll do the animation on top of them, as you can see. So one of them is push-ups. And so since it's the gym, I obviously made it look like an invisible person doing bench press, as always. You're going to see that everywhere. No reason why, it just keeps doing its own thing. Even the ghosts have to work out. Oh gosh, where to go next? On both sides, I have working elevators that take you to the next corresponding levels on top. I'm not going to utilize them, but they are functioning. And I really like how that really makes sense for a place like this to have functioning elevators. I'll get to the more interesting stuff first, but I guess starting off with the boring stuff, I'll show you the second entrance back here. Normally it ends here. The fortress stops. There's just this one door here, and it goes inside. That would not make sense for me if you're like a large military force, something like the military men. You only have one layer of defense to get inside the main fortress, which does not make sense. So I built this little entrance on the other side. Again, not as opulent or grand as the main entrance, but generally it seems that when it comes to the caravans and traders coming through, they take this path for whatever reason, and I don't know why. But that's what they do, and obviously I can get a lot of problems with the Brahmin trying to get up those stairs, but I don't care. To me, it makes sense that this is the less used entrance, but it can be also a good place for, like, there's Sturgis, by the way. Hi, Sturgis. Just messing around. But obviously it would make sense that this would be, like, a place where if the enemy was to invade, they would do it from here. So there's obviously enough fortification to deter anyone from even getting from this side. But it's decent enough looking from the main entrance for an entrance as compared to the main entrance. Sorry if I'm stumbling over my words. I do it all the time with these tours. Going back inside. I guess I'll start with the interior, and I'll come over here. This is where the workstation is, obviously. I didn't really know what to do with it. I kind of just had it sitting there, but it didn't make sense for it just to kind of sit there and be an eye view. So I built this structure around it, put a few things inside to kind of populate the area, and then I put a second generator on top, which powers what is going to be the lead officer's quarters, the officer's quarters, and then the soldiers' barracks that are over here, which I'll get to that in a minute. But also it powers the insides as well. As you can see, I have all the connectors on that are on the outside, as you can see with the main switch here. So, going inside finally. This is kind of like a waiting area, I say. Usually, most of the time, the way I like to see it, if there's people in the Commonwealth that want to try and basically get services from the Minutemen, because they would kind of come here first. Now, if they were able to. Now, again, like I said, the Minutemen's goal, at least the way I have it set up, is they're there to liberate and kind of help save the Commonwealth, but they're not there to interfere with the affairs. They're not there to try and tell people how to rule the settlements. They're not there to try and be overlords, basically. They want everyone to have independent freedom, but they're there as kind of a protective force to kind of basically help with anything the settlements may need. But obviously there has to be a lot of, I guess, some of the transactions and talks that have to take place between the lead Minutemen and people who are wanting to conduct business with it. So if they make business or want to travel here to talk business, this would be a waiting area. But that'll come more into effect when I get into the meeting room that's over there. First head right. Again, kind of another small waiting area. Some vending machines, Nuka-Cola and Vim. Like it. Here's the little jail cell here for anyone who's gonna act up and cause trouble. Again, there's only one. I didn't make it too big. I probably would have put a second mattress in there, but at least it kind of fits for the purpose of this fortress, I guess you can say. No one really acts up. Of course, there's always going to be people who start brawls and start shit. There's always going to be troublemakers, but that's what that here is, and that's what this jail cell is here for. And then a quartermaster here who would probably keep an eye on things, as you can see. And inside over here is the infirmary. Not that big of an infirmary for a place like the Minutemen headquarters, but you gotta make with. I had to work with what I had, and using the existing structure, I really like how it turned out. Honestly, there's enough beds here for a decent sized infirmary, enough doctors around, and all that stuff. People who want to get physicals done when they join the Minutemen, this is where they get it done, and all that stuff. Make sure they get tested for any kind of communicable diseases they have, get treated for that, and get confirmed or denied if they're going to join based off their health. Believe it or not, just like any other military force, I guess you can say. That place would lead upstairs, so I'll go this other way instead. This over here is a bathroom, as you can see. Got a toilet and sinks in here, both men and women. Someone cleaning the toilet, thank you. Your job is very important, as always. Close that door, let you do your business. Again, just a small little bathroom I set up. Seemed to make sense. I didn't want people to not have a bathroom with a place this big. Wouldn't make sense. And over here is the main meeting room, and it kind of made sense, at least from the base game, because this table, and I think that cabinet over there was here originally, but then I outfitted everything else here to add a bunch of Minutemen stuff to fill out the place. But I really like this room a lot. It's probably one of my favorite rooms of this settlement. Again, this is where most of the main business would be conducted between the lead officers and other people who want to do business with the Minutemen. They would have their meetings here and talk about and basically fine-tune some of the contractual obligations that both of them need to fulfill, and this is where they would lay out all the paperwork and stuff like that. And again, I think also this would also work as a war room for the Minutemen. If they had to actually, you know, conduct businesses of warfare, this is where they would all meet and talk about strategy and stuff like that. And it's a grand enough room that it makes sense for that. I really like all the display cases I have going up, all the memorabilia. I really like how this place turned out. It's probably, again, one of my more favorite rooms here. I like it a lot. Close the door. Continuing on, this is the Commissary. Now, I also, on the outside, I have that label that says Commissary, military surplus, all what have you. And so therefore I made this section the Commissary. Now, it's not as big as most other shops that you may see in other settlements, but that's obviously not the point. The Commissary, I guess like most military bases, has basic needs. Just stuff that, nothing fancy, nothing schmancy, just stuff that people would need and not something necessarily people would want. There are little tiny things that people can get, but again, nothing crazy. I just outfitted or filled up the shelving with a bunch of different things just to fill out the space, but it may not necessarily make sense to see it in a place like the Minutemen headquarters, but again, I like it only to fill out the space a little bit more with the do-it-yourself mod that you see that I have going on there. Same thing over here with weapons and armor. Got that all outfitted. Again, main Commissary here. That over there leads to the chow hall and the upstairs, the second floor basically. But I'll go in this way just to show you the entrance to the chow hall. And this is where people go to obviously eat. Now they all don't eat on the same schedule because that would be just crazy. Again, there's like 60 people here, and it's not that big of a chow hall as you can see. So not everyone could fit in here, but it works if you have people take turns with shifts to come in and eat lunch. And there's people here cooking food all the time. Now, since this is the main military base for the Minutemen, they don't necessarily procure their own food. They do have a greenhouse that I'll show you, but most of their food comes from whatever people gather on the outside and whatever other settlements in the existing caravan chain can contribute. And I guess it's just part of like a fee that they pay the Minutemen for protective services, which I have kind of going on. So as far as the Minutemen sustaining this fortress themselves, they do to an extent, but they get most of their help from the outside, as you can see. Or not see yet, I'll show that in a minute. So that's most of what I have on the inside. Again, I really liked how I made it turn out. And I don't really know where to go next. I guess I'll take the stairs over here first and show you this side. I'll save the living quarters last, because why not? Obviously, I got these things here on all different corners. Obviously, really anything of a large military force couldn't get in. They get shot down immediately. So it's not like the Pridwin or the Brotherhood of Steel, heaven forbid, would try to invade the Minutemen, because even as far as how vulnerable it may look, this fortress definitely has means to defend itself, so I've got no worries there. So this is the second floor of the other entrance here. It's just the means of how the guards get to their stations on either side. Usually if it's seen as, you know, caravans and traders come in, this is kind of a checkpoint. They're usually met, you know, unfortunately at gunpoint, but nothing too hostile, just to make sure that they're not bringing in anything or trying to do anything sketchy. And this is kind of where it's a kind of essentially a check-in station that they can look down and not be in immediate danger. And they have the viewpoint here with the guard stations looking out over the sea. Like it, I like it, I like it. And over here, this is the warehouse, where they keep a lot of things in storage. Now, people can check stuff in and out. Here, there should be someone assigned here, but they never come here for some reason, which I can never understand. They never decide to actually... Again, this is actually meant to be like a general store, but it's retextured with a mod to make it look different. But no one ever comes here for whatever reason, so whatever. Just giving you all a quick glance of the warehouse. Again, there's all different kinds of stuff here, but nothing crazy. Mainly stuff dealing with components and weapons and armor and stuff, as you can see. Personal effects. It's actually kind of get dark. I may have to put the brightness back on. Over here is the greenhouse. And again, it's one of the smaller greenhouses, but again, the main priority for the Minutemen is not necessarily food. This is the main base for them, and so as far as all their resources they get, most of it comes from the outside. But they have enough, I guess, stuff here growing as far as sustenance to kind of keep them going in case of emergency. But it wouldn't last long, heaven forbid, if they were cut off from their supply chains. Stuff out here, potted plants and stuff, people glitching into it, because of course. And it's getting dark, so I'm actually going to make it daylight again. Alright, there we go. Continuing on with the tour. It's pretty bright. And so this is kind of like a walkway, essentially, but it's also where the guards come to. Again, another... God, the name of this thing escapes me. I forget. I'm sorry. The mortar, whatever, I forget what it's called. It's been a while since I've played or built anything, as you can tell. Forgetting the names of stuff, but... This is a walkway I decided to build to connect both sides, because just having a huge gaping vein in the middle as an entrance just was very inconvenient, because that's the only way, those stairs over there normally is the only way you could get up to the second floor. So I built this causeway to connect both sides, as you can see. But obviously guards would normally come here if they were stationed here and look out. But it's also where some people can hang out. If they're off shift, they can take a breather here, whatever. Just a main little causeway, connection bridge, whatever. And continuing on, this over here is the barracks, but on the first floor of each one are a sets of bathrooms, as you can see. Now, I guess the way I like to see it, I normally wanted to assign these by gender. One was men, one was women, and I figured that may still make sense in hindsight, but I decided to not label it anything, and considering it's military and really they don't I would figure they really don't give a shit about when it comes to like separation of gender. Maybe they do, I don't know, but I figure it's just kind of a free-for-all when it comes to bathrooms. But the barracks do have 2 sets of bathrooms just in case. And obviously over here again, working elevator to take people from the ground floor to up here if they so choose to use that over the stairs. Second bathroom over here, as you can see. Now going up to the second floor is, like I said, the barracks, and it's nothing but beds. Just beds and lockers, like something you would see in a normal military barracks, with tables in the middle where the soldiers and stuff can mess around when they're off shift or about to go to bed or whatever, before night hours or whatever. So just a long room of beds and lockers for the barracks, as you can see. Nothing too crazy, but it makes sense for a military setting. Something you would see probably on an actual Minutemen base in the Fallout 4 universe, at least of what I thought anyway. I'm going down. And last but not least, at least I think I've covered everything. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've covered everything here in the base besides this last place. And this is the main officer's quarters. I'm not too satisfied with the structure. I was being to make it look a little bit better, but I wanted to have a mix of both wood and concrete, and I don't know, it may not look the best, but it works, at least on the inside. I think it does. It works a lot better on the inside. Coming into on the inside, we obviously have a place that's probably the nicest place as far as all the other places you'll see for people to live, because it makes sense, it being the main officer's quarters. On both sides here, we've got bedrooms, and these all basically look the same, but they have basically a large bed, a desk, a dresser, stuff like that. It may not seem that impressive, but it would make sense as an officer's quarters in a military base of sorts. The other side has the same thing pretty much, as you can see. The other side here on the second floor also looks about the same. As you can see, I tried to keep it a little bit different in each room, but nothing too crazy. And now over here, I'll go into this room in a minute, but over here is actually the bathroom. As you can see, I actually made it to be the bathroom for this building, the lead officer's quarters. Again, probably the nicer bathrooms, but they all have to share. Even they have to share, but again, it's one of the nicer ones. And then finally, here comes the general's quarters up here. And this is what it is, the general's quarters up here on the last top floor. Now, the way I like to see it is, yeah, it makes sense, at least for my characters played through, that they would choose the side of the Minutemen and they would be, you know, the general of the Minutemen, at least in the post Fallout 4 story. And that's definitely an option that I see as far as my character. This would be the place where they would live, obviously. And I used a vault desk, but I figured I liked it. I thought it made more sense just rather over just a regular desk, so I used that. And there's obviously a microphone here in case the general has to make a big announcement. He can, and it goes out to the entire base. So the office area, kind of a reading area, study area, little table to eat, living room, and the bed, as you can see here. But continuing with what I was saying, it's definitely an option for at least my character. This is where they would live, being the general of the Minutemen. But if they decided to kind of give up being the leader of the Minutemen and give it to someone like Preston for them to lead the Minutemen, and basically, I guess, in a so-called time of peace for the Commonwealth. Oops, sorry about that. Time of peace for the Commonwealth. You know, with both the Brotherhood and Steel and the Institute not being having a presence here in the Commonwealth, and the Commonwealth trying to build itself back up with all these different settlements, then I could see the main character retiring to someplace else and to live out their years peacefully somewhere else. And one of those places I thought about was actually Nuka World, believe it or not. Once Nuka World was saved from the Raiders, liberated from the Raiders, basically Nuka World amusement park itself would be restored and rebuilt to a huge, massive settlement where tons of people live. And he would basically live there as an ordinary citizen, essentially, just kind of retire and live out his life there. And it's in a freaking amusement park, I guess you can say. So why not? And that's kind of how I would like to see. Nuka World, basically where he would retire. But if not, during times of trouble, that would be where he would live, up there, as the general of the Minutemen. And that's it, pretty much, guys, for the castle tour. Again, one of my larger settlements, and I knew that tour took a while. But this place is big, as you can see. It's one of the biggest ones I've made so far. And to do something different, I'm actually not going to give a tour of this place at night, because it's not really lit up that well, honestly, because there's not little colorful lights as I would do in my other summons, because again, this is a base. It's kind of boring. It's not meant to look beautiful, obviously, as you can see. So, Preston, what are you doing? Oh, what can you do, Bethesda, you and your glitchy games. So yeah, that's it for my castle build, guys. Thank y'all for watching, and stay tuned for more.